Welcome to my Motivational Moments with Coach John channel. As a seasoned leadership coach with a passion for developing a client's potential, I enhance my thinking by taking on the reflective habit of a monk or friar to give my inner thoughts time and attention through the practice of silent contemplation. I made a few notes as I reflected on the topic of ego. To set the stage, I have a short piece of whimsical poetry called the Egotistical Toad. There once was a toad that lived by a road that wound round a pond. He lived with his wife, the light of his life, his ego the size of King Kong. He spoke and he croaked of his life and he joked to the frogs how he loved his abode, how he came, how he went, how he saved, how he spent, the flies that swarmed across the road. The frogs got excited. His stories ignited the riches of what they've been told. They banded together and debated to venture to hop across the road. They started in pairs midst inquisitive stares, and halfway across hesitated. Now along came a truck, and unfortunate luck. Now the frogs that were friends are belated. The toad was living out of a bullfrog ego, where it thought itself at the center of all experiences and knowledge above all other toads. It wanted the pond all to itself. The egotistical toad's pushy manner in promising a big reward of succulent flies across the road was enough for the frogs to discount the risk leading to their demise. We all have an ego. It's a functional part of the mind. Our ego identity is a mental and emotional construct we have of ourselves which we believe to be true. It's a self-image, a survival mechanism we've created to be successful in interacting with the outside world. Our ego mindfully develops and manages the foundation of our self-esteem and self-confidence. A positive ego, expressing the core of our inner self, is an ally in driving ambitions and achievements that grow and strengthen our self-esteem and self-confidence and happiness. As an extreme introvert in my early years, who I was not who I wanted to be. In order to be free of myself, I had to develop the ego strength around a skill, talent, or passion as an energy that would push me through my shyness. Without that, I was at the mercy of what happens to me. However, there is a dark side of egos when they become inflated and having matured from an awareness of operating from the core of our true self. Inflated egos parent the mind. They take you beyond the person to live through a false sense of self-worth where your identity is glued to a job or the burden of possessions, not on the appreciation of your true character and uniqueness hiding in the shadows. An ego-based life is judged through the perception of others rather than what you think of yourself. Egocentric individuals compensate for weaknesses and insecurities as a defense mechanism to reinforce a fabricated self-image in projecting an aura of power, competence, and success. What suffers is erasing the warmth of the real person underneath. Egotistical leaders are driven by power and greed and the obsession to succeed at all costs. They have an exaggerated sense of self-importance, selfishness, and arrogance through an excessive need to assert their own brilliance at the expense of others around them. Their loyalty is only to themselves. Common courtesy is abandoned. Egocentric leaders drain the emotions out of a team, killing morale and productivity. The miserable atmosphere they create invades a team's immune system. Their strength comes from the silence of others. The threat to inflated egos happens between the lies they tell themselves. How they manage drifts them unknowingly into isolation, which is among the greatest risks to those at the top. Leaders who operate only from a position of power and intimidation will never really achieve lasting greatness. They lose their emotional integrity and warmth and can be perceived as an adversary. Another threat is they become vulnerable when challenged. Their greatest fear is losing control and never regaining it. When ego defenses are weakened, behaviors become self-destructive. Negative self-images collide against their internal personal truth, and the implication of being an imposter instills mounting feelings of fear, guilt, nervous anxiety, humiliation, and failure. Their reaction is to abruptly devalue or dismiss the advice of others as it cracks the shell of their self-deception and comfort zone. The key question employees have for any leader is, does he or she care about me? Every leader should spend silent time self-reflecting, questioning what aspects of their character operates out of the dark side of ego, hidden from view, threatening their greatness and happiness. As a leader, if your title was taken away, does your personality have the power to influence people? The real use of applying your ego in a positive way is to know yourself and to live for you. Challenging your ego means surrendering control to enter a state of self-awareness to help the real you take responsibility for your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Final success in life is not found on the outside until you befriend who you are on the inside. The question is it time to measure the moment in your life, to step back and build an awareness of how your ego impacts the happiness and fulfillment of those around you? What's it like to be you? Do you feel inferior? Do you feel superior? Measuring the moment helps regain control of your ego to be aware of what motivates you by having a realistic, insightful understanding of your strengths and weaknesses in maximizing your potential. Assess what ego impacts you need to soften to present a better you. Change your self-image to be one who treats others with respect and goodwill. Rebuild relationships one at a time. Don't succumb to the liability of your ego. Don't defend it, but dampen it by becoming more open-minded to the experiences of others and actively work on your empathy and humility. Take responsibility to conform what people need, not expecting them to adapt to you. Listen more. Control the language of ego by diminishing the use of I, we, and my. Finally, become spirited focused, not ego focused. Separate the values artificially created by your ego to those that are more authentic to your spiritual, intellectual, and human development. When you're comfortable with the power of being the genuine you, there will be no need for an inflated ego. Legitimate success will follow. Just don't be the toad. Until next time, be good to yourself.